Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Is This a Ghost? I'm Clayton Smith, and every week I tell my real friend Patrick a real ghost story from real history, and he doesn't take it real seriously.
Not yet. No. Maybe
Hey,
someday.
hey, hey,
Hey, I'm right here. I'm
I
right.
got something for you. Hold on. You ready for this?
I am. You're gonna cut up the dead air, or are we gonna? What the fuck was that? Is that gas? What is this?
But it's not done yet. Goes for a long time. Happy birthday!
Oh yeah, fuck. Okay.
You had a birthday.
I did.
And I forgot about it.
Eh.
And I thought to make up for it, I would do that. That makes up for
That's
it.
good. Whatever it was. Yeah, that was very exciting.
That's a party favor.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it. No.
Yeah. Well, it's on the phone, so it's hard for all of us to see. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. It's fine.
Did you do a thing?
Not really.
That's cool. They don't tell you that when you're a kid that your birthdays will become so much less exciting when you become old.
Mm-hmm.
They should tell you that, because I think back to some of my birthdays, I would have really cranked it up a little bit if I had known that it was going to be downhill for like every year is going to be a little bit less exciting, you know?
Yeah. And like, and again, once you hit 40, they kind of flip over a little bit to where they're not a happy thing anymore. You know, they're like, they really are a march straight downhill. So
I got about a month until my 40th. So I'm excited.
Oh, really?
I'm excited to find out what happens at 41. Thank you for this pep talk. This has been great.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Like 40 is the last one that I think generally is like an enjoyable one. I think after that, 41 definitely feels like 22. Remember 22?
22 was a fun one.
20 it was fun, but it was also the first one where you're like, this doesn't really matter anymore, does it?
Yeah, but I kind of liked it because there wasn't the pressure of like turning 21.
True.
And it was like, now I'm just an adult who can do stuff that I do all the time.
I'm going to go out drinking on my birthday, just like the day before my birthday.
That's
and
right.
The day after my birthday.
I liked that. Also, when I turned 22, I think that was 2 days after Millie turned 21.
Yeah.
And you remember how that went.
I remember brief snippets of that month.
So my 22nd birthday, I was just grateful to be alive and not turning 21 again. And glad that Millie was alive as well.
Yeah, she still is too, which is good.
Yeah, that's great. That's ideal.
It's always exciting to check in on her. But yeah, that was my week. Amy finally came back. She was gone. That was why I didn't get a chance to record for like a week and a half, which is why this is probably being like live streamed to the podcast at this point.
It was all I thought for about 30 seconds. I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna have to do this. Just no edits, posted up on Wednesday morning. I forgot we did have the one that we recorded with Jen that everyone else heard last week. Yeah. So that's going up our time tomorrow.
Excellent.
Thank God. How was her trip?
She seemed to really like it, which is the important thing.
Yeah. How did you like the fact that she was gone for a week?
I am still here, as you can see by the backdrop. I am not in prison or a mental facility. So
how many of your children survived it?
The vast majority.
That's all you can hope for, really. That's great. Congratulations to the whole Dean family. Gosh, anything else going on this week?
No, that's
a strange week it's been.
Yeah, a little bit. How was yours? What have you been up to?
Summer school started.
You do summer school too?
I do summer school, so I do an online class that's been going. But this week starts a very special summer session that is high school students who come take a class for college credit.
Oh, that sounds fucking awful.
I teach them. It's great. I did tell them about the podcast, so they might be listening. So be gentle.
I don't think kids listen to podcasts anymore.
It's good. I like teaching high schoolers. That's where I got my teaching start, as you may recall. So it's always nice to teach high schools, if for no other reason than it reminds you why you like teaching college students much better. But this group's actually they're really great. They're probably the best high school group I've had in a few years for this program. But it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in the classroom, which is more days than I teach on
Really?
campus in a normal semester.
It's more than you teach on campus in a month in a normal semester.
That's in some months that is true. So we're getting back in that swing. So that's where I'm at.
Fair enough. How would you rate the youth of today? Because you've kind of seen high schoolers at several different stages from your adult life.
Yeah.
Like, these are Zoomers? Is that correct?
These are Zoomers. These are young Zoomers.
Young Zoomers. How would you rate young Zoomers? Are
They're
they
young Zoomers? Because there's nothing
really
after
don't
that
know.
yet, right?
I stopped paying attention to the ones after me, so I really don't know. One of them
I
is
think they're
Z.
young Zoomers.
Young Zoomers. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So how would you rate them?
I gotta be
absolute
honest.
scale.
I think we're going back up a little bit. We were going downhill on a ski slope for a while, but I feel like we're coming back up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's only been one day with each of these two groups, but so far so good.
Okay.
I should have to say one of them did call me a DILF. That was upsetting. I didn't know what to say to that. And
Zoomers famous for testing the fences. Day one.
It is like facing 15 raptors at a time. And I froze for a second, and then all the other students said, "You can't say that." And she said, "Why not?" And I said, I can't continue this part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And we should talk about something else.
Your peers can talk to you outside of the classroom. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that was new. That's not happened before.
It's not a good thing, but
it could be worse, I guess.
I don't know.
What if you're unattractive? So that was weird. But other than that, it's been great. They seem really good. And that's I've also been fueled this week by the idea of Elon and Zuckerberg fighting each other in a cage.
God.
It's keeping me going, is what it is.
Knocking each other's dental implants out. It would make me so happy. So happy to see that. But like all things would make me so happy. It's never gonna happen.
And we talked about this. So you think if it does happen, it'll be like a little slap fight until someone says like, ow.
Yeah, like we've all seen kind of those, everybody has too much to drink at a house party on a Saturday night. Maybe it's at Melissa's house, I don't know. And and they take it out to the front yard.
Shows up, takes off his shirt, and he's giant ripped, and he just breaks Ben's nose. I don't know.
That photo is on my fridge for a year. Yeah, everybody takes it outside, kind of like a play wrestling thing, and then one guy takes it a little too far, and it's not fun anymore. That's kind of what I see happening. They kind of like tussle and grab at each other a little bit, and then Zuckerberg maybe elbows him in the teeth, and Elon's like, nope.
I think that's right, but I think Zuck then also doesn't let go. He's got the taste of blood. Then he's got a lot to prove after not really winning that jiu-jitsu match. Wink, wink. So I think he just go. I think he tells him to lock the cage, and he just goes after
lock
him.
the cage, turn out the lights.
Because who's gonna step in? No matter what happens, who's gonna step in to stop that fight? Really,
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they both have a lot of toadies, but I don't think any of those toadies really want to get in the middle of that.
No, and I think on some level they're all gonna want to see it happen.
Slowly turn off the television cameras. Like, yep.
My batteries fell out of my mic. I'm so sorry. So that's been good. And then, well, of course, we had the news of the
billionaire crushing machine.
Speaking of billionaires, yeah. What a story, huh?
Yeah, I read another one. There was a billionaire that died earlier today during penis enlargement surgery, which is pretty exciting too.
Is that true?
I saw it on Blueski, so it's
gotta be real.
True.
I don't think I want to know the answer to this question. How does that surgery work?
I assume a shunt.
I
don't really know. I don't know if it's like the leg lengthening thing, where like they make you like 2 inches tall. You remember all the billionaires during COVID?
Yeah, they put like titanium in your knees or something, right?
They like break your leg and then they kind of space out and they put titanium plates. I don't know if it's the same process. I'm hoping it's not the same process, but honestly, it probably makes the most sense to do it that way. So
you think so?
Yeah, just break titanium. Yeah.
Oh God.
Can we go back to talking about the submarine, please?
I've never felt so good to not be have money. I feel this is the happiest I've ever felt to be solidly middle class, and I love it. I didn't know that you could take a tour of the Titanic in a sub until you texted me to tell me that you didn't know that you could take a tour of the Titanic in a sub.
I guess I saw James Cameron do it, but I figured that was like a special thing with like National Geographic or whatever. I didn't think it was like a thing you could do instead of, you know, going to Turks and Caicos or whatever.
Yeah, and you could do it with an Xbox controller.
Sure,
apparently.
absolutely.
This story is just wild. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Is it too soon to make jokes about Titanic related things?
I think I sent you the 5-step timeline of tragedies, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
So yeah,
where are we on that stuff?
we are at step 5. It actually was very funny.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We got there quick.
Mm.
Well, anything else you want to say about that?
No, totally good. Yeah, I've said everything I need to say without legal repercussion, and I am moving along.
Would you like to hear a ghost story?
Yeah, I get that.
Did you just expel your own spirits from inside of you?
One of them, but it wasn't very deep.
All right. Well, I have a ghost story for you.
Awesome.
Let's see. Do you want to guess a year? You're not going to guess it, but do you want to?
Do you want to guess the year of all the years? Of all the years, I'm going to guess 1565.
Oh boy, you couldn't. You're so stupid.
One of these times I'm going to get it, and you're going to be so mad.
In 1977.
Not even close.
Nope.
I mean, like geologically, it's pretty close.
Well, yeah, sure. On the timeline of the life of the universe, quite close actually. In 1977, Leonard Bishop, he was a second officer of the SS Winterhaven. He was approached by one of the passengers of his ship. And this guy, it was an older, kind of soft-spoken British gentleman. And he asked Bishop if he could have a tour of the ship. And Bishop...
What kind of ship is the Winterhaven? Is it like a cruise ship? It's just a passenger.
It's steam, yeah. So SS is I don't know about anyone else, but I have learned so much from this podcast. And because of our SS Eastland disaster, our live episode of C2E2, I know that SS stands for steamship. So this is a steamship that, did I not share that in the this is why no one else learns anything from the podcast episode. I don't share the actual facts. I learned the best things, and none of you can have any of them. No, yeah, SS stands for steamship. So the Winterhaven was a steamship, it was a passenger ship. I'm guessing I don't know how big it was. I didn't look that up.
What was its route? Is it like a commuter ship? Or is it like like one of those? Was it like a
no
like it was like a Ponce de Leon thing? Was it going all the way around?
No, it wasn't that. It was
one of those?
It was a land ship. Actually, it was going from from Madrid to Barcelona. But
It's
not
rough
the way
going.
You'd think.
It honestly is. It's rough going, but
it's pulled by oxen. Where are we? So the passenger comes up and he's an older British gentleman. He asks Bishop if he can have a tour of the ship, and Bishop doesn't normally do this. They don't usually like, oh sure,
yeah,
passenger, let's take you on a
here's steam room, here's deck,
here's a self-destruct button, don't push it. But this guy seemed to know a lot about ships, so he seemed like he had been on ships before, like he knew his stuff. So Bishop's like, okay, you're a fellow
check out
man of the sea.
Yeah, fellow seaman.
Yep. So Bishop's taking him around. As he takes him around the boat, he finds the passenger to be very inquisitive and like extremely interested in even like the smallest details of the ship.
Interesting.
So this means this person's a terrorist.
Obviously a spy. Yeah, clearly. Yeah. But you said this is in 56?
77.
77.
This is Cold War. This is prime Cold War.
Okay.
Not that it has anything to do with the story. He was so interested. He started to ask such specific questions that Bishop he started to feel uneasy. And he said he doesn't feel like unpleasant. Like it wasn't freaked out. It was just strange because no one really asked him these kind of questions about boats.
Yes.
So the tour is done, and the passenger, he thanks Bishop for his time, and then he just wanders off, goes back to the passenger quarters.
He's probably bored as fuck. I mean, can you imagine?
I assume.
Can you give me a tour of the ship too? I want to see your perspective on the ship. Can you give me a tour in Spanish? Thank you.
Yeah, there's no Marvel Snap at this time.
What did people even do?
I told you I deleted it, right? I did.
I did as well. I haven't played it in a while.
Since then, I had to. I was spending so much time playing it. And since then, that was about a week ago, I've read a book and a half.
Wow.
I have not read a book in years. I've read a book and a half.
You're both a teacher and an author, and you just confess this.
Yeah.
To everybody that you're, I guess you'll just edit all this out.
I don't want to
I
don't want to like taint my process, I don't want to like fill my brain with other people's ideas.
Right. I know some authors like to read books, but I feel like it's kind of cheating to do
those
that.
Chums, it's totally cheating. I'm a self-made man, so I like to keep those thoughts in there, and it's a one-way street in my brain. Yeah, it goes out, nothing goes in.
You kind of like a Dead Poets Society type teacher. You walk in the first day, take the textbook, throw it in the garbage.
That's right. If you jump on a table, they will do anything you say. It doesn't matter how crazy it is.
That DILF's on the fucking table.
This girl she can't be more than 15 years old. That's
horrifying.
I did report it just in case there was something. I was like,
I'm gonna make sure that people record of this.
Who possibly can know that this happened to know immediately, because please get me out of this situation. Anyway, so he disappears, and then they don't, they do their trip and they dock and people go away, and that's it.
Nobody dies. Not a big deal.
That's right. A few years later, though, Bishop is flipping through a book on maritime history, and he sees a photograph of that same old British man. Okay. So he's with a friend, or I don't know, they're probably on a boat or something. Yeah, he's with there's another person around. Yeah,
I mean, if you're on a boat like that, everyone kind of becomes friends. There's not a lot of options.
If you become enemies, one of you is not on the boat for much longer.
Exactly. So colleagues, friends, you call them whatever you want, but it's two people that have to get along for a certain period of time.
That's right. You never know if you're going to be shipwrecked with them, and if that happens, you want to make sure you're on good terms.
Exactly, or at least you're in the strong faction. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're in his cabin. They're drinking wine. They're looking through maritime books.
There's candles everywhere. It's really nice. And so he sees a photograph of this man, and Bishop goes, "Oh, hey, I know this guy. I gave him a tour of my boat a few years ago." And the other guy looks over at the picture and he laughs, and he says, "Well, that's not possible, because that man was the captain of the Titanic."
Oh, hang on now. What year is this?
1977.
Interesting. And when did the Titanic sink?
Pre-1977. It was a summer of love, and the Titanic was cruising out. The Love Boat.
God, if they'd only ended the Love Boat like that, I would have. Big twist. Okay, so this guy has been dead for a while. Did the captain of the Titanic? He went down with the ship, right? I didn't watch the movie, but I assume he goes down with the ship.
I mean, do you want to hear the whole story, or do you want me to just tell you the answer?
The whole story of the Titanic? It's like a 5-hour movie.
Yeah, you have time, right?
I actually do. That's fair.
Yeah.
Does he go down with the ship?
All right, if you want to spoil it for everyone, yeah, he goes down with the ship.
Okay.
You're probably the only person who hasn't seen that movie, so.
I don't think I have to give spoiler alerts on movies that are older than all of my children.
That is definitely true. I want to shout out. So I started researching this one because one of our listeners reached out to us over Instagram. Tim, who actually I think was at our live show at C2E2. And he sent us on Instagram, which you'd never check, I assume.
No reason to.
A pretty solid meme about the Titanic sub incident, and I wrote him back and I said, well, I don't know, is it too early to do an episode on Titanic, or is it exactly the right time? And he said it was the right time. So I
gotta stay topical. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the SEO is going to be crazy for this. So so thank you to Tim. And if people find it distasteful that we're doing this, shame on you, Tim. How dare you?
Yeah. Tim's mailing address is
can't be too far from Chicago. If you just wander around Chicago, he was at C2E2, so you just wander around here a little bit.
Yeah, you can probably write Tim Chicago, and it'll get to him. I'm sure.
Think so.
It might go through a few Tims before it gets him. I'm
they'll
sure
all return to, they'll pass it around. They know.
Oh no, this isn't me. It's the other Tim.
Other
let
Tim.
Let me walk it over to his house.
This is Titanic Tim. Yeah, we know. He keeps sending those goddamn memes. Anyway, so Edward John Smith was born on January 27th. Do you want to? Okay, here's a better. Do you want to take a guess at what year he was born?
1870.
No. 1850.
Okay, that's fair. I figure he was one of those like young like Cavalier captains, kind of like the Costa Concordia guy. I guess not.
What's Coast of Concordia?
The Costa Concordia? Oh my God! Please Google the Costa Concordia disaster, because
is this for our next podcast? Is this one of these things?
I don't know if they got ghosts out of that one or not. But yeah,
this boat's on its side. Is this?
Yeah.
Oh, the cruise. This is the cruise ship.
Yeah. The one that like got close to shore so he could wave to the people on the shore, and he fucking wrecked the cruise ship and killed everybody.
Oh boy,
that was a tough one, because that one was tough to tell when was too soon, because it was so stupid. I mean, it was so mind-blowingly stupid, but like a lot of people drowned to death.
Yeah, that's different. There's a lot of innocence in that story, which is a lot different than this billionaire's story. Although not everyone on there was a billionaire. There was like a really one of the foremost, if not the world's foremost expert on Titanic was on there as like their guide.
Really?
It was like this very serious diver who went down. Yeah. So that, I mean, it's all tragic, but you know, he didn't pay $250,000 to be on there.
True. But I mean, if he was going to choose how to go,
that's probably how we would have wanted.
Honestly, I
don't know. Anyway, this guy's old. And so he was born January 27th, 1850 in Staffordshire, England, which is probably pronounced Staffordshire.
Yeah, just fast. They just pronounce everything faster.
Yeah, Staffordshire, England. His father was a potter, and his mother did, I guess, nothing. Because no one said anything about her. Though at some point they did, quote, own a shop.
A pot shop. So it sounds like.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, you're a potter. What else?
I think it's called a pot shop. That sounds right.
Is potter like making pots? Right. I'm not misunderstanding that. It's not
Correct.
like something. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any further questions?
No, that's all.
Okay. So Smith lived in the Staffordshire house until he was the age of 13, at which point his parents were like, time to get a job. Now, if you will go on the internet, you'll see a lot of people say he immediately went to the sea and was a seaman his whole life. That's not true. He did not go to work directly in the ocean. His first job was operating a steam hammer at the Etruria Forge. Like most 13-year-olds do, operate steam hammers. Do you think kids were just like better at stuff back then, or was everyone just much more sadistic back then?
I think they were just much more disposable back then, was the thing. I think life was a weed out process.
So many of them died for so many other reasons. Like if you made it to 13, you were a precious commodity, I think.
True. Yeah, but then like, how do you prove that you were actually worth something at that point?
That's true.
You went to the steam hammer, and if you could survive the steam hammer for 2 years,
we're gonna have 10 kids. Only one of them can be the heir. Let's see who survives. You made it to 13. You've done well. You've outmaneuvered Ebola and TB, but can you survive the steam hammer?
Final boss is 2 years of the steam hammer.
So he's operating the steam hammer, and Etruria Forge was a bone and flint mill that ground, I assume, bone and flint it ground materials for potters. So that makes a lot of sense. I guess you make pottery out of bone.
Sure.
There's like bone china, I guess.
Cursed pottery, of course. Yeah, what wouldn't you? Yeah.
And thanks to the good work by the young Captain Smith, we have so many additional episodes of this podcast to look forward to.
I don't know if you remember, but most of the Titanic's hull was made of bones. It was very interesting. It was
the rest of it was skin. Yeah. It's really weird. But so the forge was located on the Calden Canal. And so young Edward would spend his days looking out at the canal at the small boats that would go up and down.
getting
And so,
distracted while he's manning the steam hammer. That seems like a really
I
terrible
wouldn't-
idea.
Yeah, it's a real test, though.
After losing his second hand, he decided maybe it was time.
In 1867, at the age of 17, he quits the mill and he gets his first maritime job because the canal has been calling. Sometimes the ocean calls, but for Edward, it was the canal. He begins an apprenticeship on a boat called the Senator Weber.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you would like to have a boat named after you?
Depends on the boat.
It feels like a gamble, right? Because like if a big disaster happens on that boat, your name is fucked forever.
I get obviously, John and Tammy Titanic, they don't really come off very well nowadays. But
no, exactly.
At the same time, there's a lot of people that I think would enjoy having their names. Maybe not the big names, but like the Lusitanias, the etc.
Sorry, do you think you would like your name in Lusitania?
I mean, it's very famous now.
It is.
It was a pretty boring ship before, but you start a little world war and everybody gets really excited about it. No, I think I'd like to have a ship named after me.
Yeah.
One of the guys I worked with. This is a weird pull here. One of the guys I worked with in Chicago. There was a container ship that shared the same name as him.
Okay.
I am going to. I can probably say
his name was Evanescence or whatever.
His name was David Schulte. That's his name, right?
Okay.
Pretty normal.
SCHULTE.
Yeah. CHULT. Yeah. Pretty normal.
Some Schultes.
Yeah, Midwestern kid. Yeah, David Schulte. I did not know, and he did not know until we started working together, that there was a massive container ship that also shared the name, the David Schulte. So he would track
a specific name.
It is a very and I assume it's still in operation. But he would track it on his Facebook page. Here's where the David Schulte is today. It's in.
It's kind of nice.
Singapore, picking up 10 million cars to bring to the U.S. or something like that. Yeah. So he seemed to like it. I don't know if I would like it.
Called the Clayton Smith. I should look. There's so many people out there called Clayton Smith, and so many ships.
There's so many people. One of them has to be a ship. So.
I do have a person who I get emails to the wrong Clayton Smith all the time. But there's some poor bastard in Australia whose name is Clayton Smith who I keep getting emails from different people in his life about him. Like some are from like these like family friends who all went together to buy a racehorse. And this was a series that went on for a long time. And for a while they were like,
your doppelganger? This is
I don't know. It's so funny because like my personal email address has my middle initial in it. So you have to kind of you have to swerve out of your way to get this one wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's just my name but with a middle initial. And
it's not even close to the other letters. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's not. And so it's so weird. But this one they keep sending, and for a while I was going along with it. I was like, well, how handsome is this horse? Can you describe his features? And just, fucking with them a little bit, just assuming if I did that, they would stop emailing me. And they didn't. They responded. And eventually I was
his testicles are grand, like two grapefruits sealed in a bag.
And eventually, after doing this for a while, I eventually wrote them back and I was like, I don't even know what horse we're talking about. I think you have the wrong person. And I thought that would be the end of it.
The right horse. Yeah.
They wrote back and they said, no, just ask your dad. He'll tell you all about it. Okay. I don't know. But I still get emails for this Clayton Smith. Like just 2 weeks ago, I got an email from a realtor who's like, here's the link. You need to put your bid in on this house. And I was so tempted to put like this outrageous
$1 trillion.
I was so tempted, but the stakes are so high. I think that might be some legal issues. So I didn't do it, but boy. But yeah, I bet there's a ship with my name on it out there.
Probably.
Anyway, so Edward was on the Senator Weber, and he was very smart. He worked super hard, and it wasn't long before he started getting commanding positions. In 1880, he joined the White Star Line. Now, you've not seen the Titanic movie. Is that true?
But it sounds like that sounds familiar. I know a little bit about Titanic, lore.
So the legend, the mythology of the Titanic.
I'm aware that the White Star Line was the the company that owned the Titanic, or commissioned it or whatever.
That's correct. They own it. And so in 1880, not at this point though, obviously. So in 1880, he joins the White Star Line as a fourth officer of the SS Celtic. which of course would ultimately prove to be a pretty bad decision. But
only eventually.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some time. The White Star Line, though, was like one of the preeminent shipping companies in the world. So it was great.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like if you started working at like Tesla 2 years ago, and you're like, this is great, everything's going awesome, and our CEO is so smart. It's great. How do you know? How could you know? Where things are going?
Yeah.
At this point, though, he's 30 years old and he's fourth in command on a big old boat, which
cool.
I think is pretty. That sounds pretty good.
That seems pretty. Yeah, it's close to the top. I mean, you're 2 heart attacks away from
almost being in command.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And at 30 years old, I was not doing anything.
I was 2 heart attacks away from anything at that point. Yeah.
And he served on the route from Australia to New York City.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
It seems like a pretty fun route.
Hang on. How the fuck do they do that?
Around.
Do they cut through? They cut through at some point?
They hitch up the oxen and they cut through the land. I don't know the fastest way from Australia to New York City.
I think the Panama Canal was a little bit later than that. So they probably go down
there's
around.
No canal.
Probably go down.
Or do they go the other way?
The other way? Oh, like around
Cape Horn?
I don't think. I think they go around South America.
Probably, right?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
That doesn't matter. Yeah, none of that matters.
God, but can you imagine Panama Canal was such a good idea. Such a good idea. Anyway, so he's on that route and it goes great. He rises through the ranks very quickly. Just 7 years later, in 1887, he receives his first command on the Republic. And the Republic is a ship, but it's where he's in command. And I just want to point out, so what a treat to jump from like 1867 to 1880 without having to talk about the Civil War. It's great. Everything's going gangbusters over in Britain. Anyway, so in 1887, he's on the Republic. It's his first command. It is worth noting that to take this command, he had to pass a navigation exam, and he did fail his first one.
Probably like your driving exam. Everybody fails it once. You fuck up the parallel parking. Oh, I failed really bad. I failed it terrible. I remember in my first one, we get like halfway through it, and it's all like the stop signs to the neighborhood or whatever. And eventually he goes, okay, then we can go back to the office. I said, oh, fantastic. This is easier than I thought. And he goes, oh no, you failed.
I just already know that you failed.
How
did you do that? What did you do so badly?
I rolled like all the stop signs. I drove like
that.
Yeah. I came back and I was like, Mom, I drove just like you. And she's like, oh fuck, don't do that.
I knew I shouldn't have been the one to teach you how to drive.
So second time I drove like a decrepit old person, I passed. So
great. Well, that's what he did, I guess. So he took it again 1 week later, then he passed. So that's pretty good. Eventually, Smith joined the Royal Naval Reserve, and they brought him in. He entered as a lieutenant. He obviously has a lot of experience on ships, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But this also meant that if war broke out, he would be called upon to serve in the Royal Navy.
A little dicey.
Work just like ours. Yeah. Yeah. But the good part is, so that's the bad part because you got to go to war. The cool part is that it also meant he was on a merchant ship. The Republic was a merchant ship. It could fly the blue ensign of the Royal Naval Reserve.
Oh, okay. All right.
Most merchant ships had to fly the dumb old red ensign.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I can show you pictures if you want, but it's basically,
I don't care.
Picture a solid, that's the right answer. A solid blue flag, except in the corner, there's a Union Jack. And the red one is a solid red flag, but in the corner, there's a small Union Jack. The Navy had a white one. The whole thing. So he was one of the very few merchant ships to be able to fly the blue flag. It's like the blue check mark of 1887.
It's a wonder this empire collapsed so spectacularly. It really is.
Have you not seen our ensigns?
Yeah.
This one is white. How dare you attack us?
How dare the colonies revolt? Have they not seen the flags?
Excuse me, Captain Jack Sparrow. This is a blue flag ship. How dare you? Uh, but he keeps rising on through the ranks. And in 1895, he was made captain of the Majestic, which was an even bigger and better boat. Yeah, he's moving
Republic,
on up.
the Majestic. What's the next step? And what could be better than Majestic? Oh, I don't know.
What's bigger than Majesty?
What's another word for like huge? Because I'm tired of Majestic.
But while he's on the Majestic, a few years after he starts there, the Boer War breaks out. Boer War. You know the Boer War?
I've heard of it. I don't have any earthly clue what it's about, though.
This was me as well. I just feel, I can't help but feel like American education has not done a great service.
I think it was intentionally vague on European conflicts. Just 'cause it's like, we got our own shit going on, you know. Like,
that's true. There's a lot happening here. The Boer War was it was basically England versus, there were two tribes of Boers in southern Africa. Maybe South Africa, or maybe generally southern Africa. I could have looked into that slightly more,
but there was no time.
It's as you know, I had to cancel recording last night because this research was not done. I was under the gun today. So, but anyway, so the war breaks out, and the Majestic was then instructed to transport troops to Cape Colony. So he's being pulled into the war, and his ship is coming with him.
Okay.
So he has to bring troops down to the Cape. And he made 2 trips there, and both went very smoothly. They were completely without incident.
Excellent.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally just like taking the ship down there and dropping off at the dock and coming back. So
there are more dangerous jobs. I think.
You're basically like an Instacart driver at that point. So
don't shoot. But for his service, King Edward VII awarded him the Transport Medal.
Sounds like a tough one.
Again, the British rolled over so easily. And he also was named officially, quote, a safe captain because of this.
Okay.
And that's a little bit of irony if you know the future.
Well, I mean, yeah. Like locked him into a nice insurance rate, though. He's probably like, this is fantastic, really.
Well, it does play, as you'll see, a surprisingly interesting role in how much people like him. So after the war ends, and he's free to go back to running a passenger ship. And this is when he starts making trips across the Atlantic Ocean. Now he's older now, certainly. He's been in command of several ships, and he is known as a safe captain who always gets people there with no incident. As he's taking people back and forth from the UK to New York, he's becoming very popular with passengers who make that trip a lot. And there are quite a few folks, like apparently there are many like, I don't know how many people actually made that trip often. So it's the rich people, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
So of those people, a lot of them, a good percentage of them came to the point where they would only sail across the Atlantic if Smith was the captain of the ship.
Okay, so now we are starting to get to the Costa Concordia celebrity captain type deal. Okay,
exactly.
Right.
He's got a fucking fan club. And he actually becomes known as the Millionaire's Captain.
I mean, I like this. I like where it's going. Obviously.
But he's a celebrity. He's a celebrity passenger steamship captain, which it totally makes sense that would exist in this time. Yeah, he's the Kardashian of 1900.
Yeah, like what else would you have like a celebrity of back then? I mean, there was no television. Newspapers ran like 10, 12 weeks behind.
You have celebrity journalists, probably like a few.
Maybe baseball players. Maybe
I don't know. I've learned more and more lately about history of baseball. I don't think at this point it's just a whole bunch of people getting real drunk and throwing things at the field while some subpar players ran around and also were drunk. So I don't know.
So it's probably steamship captains. It's about it.
War heroes.
Yeah, probably war heroes. Maybe whoever the president is, but that's probably about it.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah.
So he gets a following, and there's people who will pay whatever it costs to go across on his ship. So now White Star Lines realizes they have their own, ironically, their own White Star.
Did you not know that's why they called it that? Yeah.
This little joke I came up with. And so they see dollar signs, obviously. So they're like, we
Mhm.
need to put this guy. And so if people are only, so okay, think about it. I'm gonna ask you this, Patrick.
Yeah.
You're a shipping magnate.
In the
You've
early
got your own,
1900s. Yeah, of course.
yeah. You've got your own shipping line.
Mhm.
All these ships.
Yeah.
You have one captain who people will say, I'm only going across the ocean if Captain Smith takes me, which incidentally is something that I hear
Yeah.
every day of my life. What do you do?
I mean, I try to hire that guy, obviously.
Well, he's already working for you.
Oh, well, then I
How do you
build him.
maximize that?
I think I probably build him a big motherfucking ship.
That's right.
That's probably what I do.
That's right. You're gonna.
Or I figure out a way. I figure out a way to maybe for him to captain 2 ships at once. That might be another way to do it.
Straddle them. They're gonna go really close together. You're gonna have one foot on one, 1 foot on the other. But it's gonna be hard. But I think you can do it.
You're gonna stand in the deck of. You're gonna stand, in the deck of one, and you're gonna yell commands across to the other ship.
Yeah.
Turn right, very slowly.
So here's what they do. So they do that. They decide to give him captainship of all the big boats. But they also give him the command of every single maiden voyage of a White Star Line ship, which is pretty smart, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if people were like opposed to maiden voyages. I mean, I wouldn't love that. Like if it was like the first time, because it's not like planes where like I think planes they test them out and stuff. Ships, they're like this floats.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking about like my life.
Yeah, back then the paint was probably still drying when they took off for the first time.
That's true.
So,
that's true. There's no vehicle in the world that I think I would get onto as the first trip of that vehicle in 1900.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but you think a boat. Honestly, if you show up and it's floating,
it does feel good. That's true.
What's your complaint? Like if you can see
what other due diligence are you going to do?
If you can see like a dude throwing water out of a porthole near the water line, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to wait for the next one. It's cool.
That's true. Okay, so in 1903 they gave him command of every maiden voyage, and in 1904 he was given command of the Baltic, which at that time was the largest ship in the world. The Baltic's maiden voyage went from Liverpool to New York, and there were no problems. Very smooth sailing. So he captained the Baltic for a while until they had another new ship a few years later, which was the biggest ship. No, wait, sorry. It was another very big ship. It was bigger than the Baltic, but it was called the Adriatic. When the Adriatic launched, it was not the world's biggest ship, but it was one of the biggest. So there are a couple other competing companies that are...
Bit of an arms race going on.
Yes, exactly. But it was quite large, and it was the first ocean liner to have an indoor swimming pool and a Turkish bath.
Oh, wow. I mean, we take Turkish baths for granted now on cruise ships, but back then that was probably pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you should watch Titanic, and I know what I'm saying when I say that. I get it, but they do a really great job of showing you like the luxury of this fucking boat is
like
incredible.
The water slides and stuff. Yeah.
And like they've got the vodka luge. It's really ahead of its time. But these were luxury hotels basically that floated, so they're really impressive. And so Smith captained the Adriatic from on its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York in 1907, and again, no problems.
Yep.
So it's going great. He loves it. They love it. They're making so much money. White Star Lines is. They're just loving Edward Smith. They reward him for all the success by giving him command of a brand new class of ocean liners.
A whole new class of ocean liner?
New class. This is a whole new type of ship.
Okay.
No one has built before.
Right, but it still looks like the same thing.
Like a boat.
But it is bigger than we are comfortable building, so we are going to call it something different.
That is correct. This class was called the Olympic class. And these boats were designed to be, quote, the largest and most luxurious passenger ships at that time, destined to give White Star an advantage in the transatlantic passenger trade.
Okay.
This was important because their main rivals, the Cunard Line, had just built 2 ships that were very comfortable and luxurious, certainly, but more importantly, had incredible speed. They were the fastest. The two new boats were the 2 fastest boats passenger boats out there.
Oh, wow.
So White Star knew they had to go bigger and better. They didn't know if they could go faster, but they could go bigger.
Why would you want to go fast, though? Like, think about it. I mean, if I'm in a luxury hotel and they're like, oh, we just upgraded the engines, now you get to spend 2 fewer days in the luxury ship. You're like, fuck you, I paid a lot of money to be on this ship.
Okay, that's a good point. Counterpoint, the ocean is terrifying. And the less time you can spend there, the better, I think.
The people in this boat are not seeing the ocean at all. They're in the Turkish bath 9 hours a day.
Yeah, but I know what's
hours.
down there. I know there is a 1,000-foot squid just waiting to crush this like a fucking sardine can.
Or maybe even like a school of orca, just waiting to tip the fucker over.
Oh my God, I was hoping that would come up. Did you see they spread to I think somewhere in the UK, Scotland maybe? Mm-hmm. They're like the knowledge of how to do this is really it's spreading like wildfire.
I've got a lot of respect. I've got a lot of respect for these fish.
Absolutely.
What were you talking about?
The Cunard line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
With 2 fast ships. Incidentally, in case you're curious, you're probably not. The 2 ships were called the Mauritania and the Lusitania.
Yay! A little callback right there.
Probably some ghosts to mine in that story.
Yeah, that's and tune in next week.
It was fast, but not fast enough, as they say. So White Star decides they're going to build 3 new Olympic class ships. The Olympic be the first one. That's why it's called the Olympic class. The Britannic. Any guesses on the name of the third one?
It's not Lusitania. I can't even imagine.
The Miniature. And the Titanic. So the Olympic, Britannic, and Titanic. The first one completed, the first one therefore to set sail was the Olympic. It set out from Southampton to New York under Edward Smith's command in 1911. So the Olympics voyage, it also went without incident, basically. But when they got to the dock in New York, it was preparing to dock at Pier 59, and it was and this is a huge ship. Like this is
it's literally the biggest ship in the world at this point. Yeah.
Yes. It's massive, and it's been being assisted by 12 tugboats. You've got 12 small little tugboats, like just kind of like positioning it into space because it cannot dock itself because it's so fucking big. One of the tugs got caught in the backwash of the Olympic. And so this tugboat spins around, it slams into the Olympic, and then it gets trapped under the Olympic stern.
Ooh.
Which I cannot imagine many more horrifying things as a tugboat driver or pilot or cat. I don't know what they call them.
Captain still. Yeah, I think it's still
I
captain.
think so. That's your boat. Stuck under the stern. And so it's going under because it had been sucked in by the thing. It must have been terrible. Now, eventually, the driver of the tugboat did manage to... Sorry, the captain of the tugboat...
Thank you.
You're welcome. You looked so mad for a second. Did manage to work the boat free and, quote, limp to the docks. Wikipedia likes to say that ships limp a lot.
Yeah. Any machine that's operating like a lower capacity is...
You use that a lot limping.
I do indeed.
Limp
every day.
Okay. I'll allow it then. So everything ends up okay, but people see this accident and some people are starting to wonder if the Olympic class ships are too big or if not too big, like built big too wrongly, you know?
And this is like very much, how pre-Hindenburg is this?
What's it, the 15 years 20 years?
Okay.
What's Hindenburg, 20 something, right?
Something like that.
You've talked about this before. Hindenburg disaster is 37. So about 30 years.
Okay. So they're starting to learn this lesson now of building things too big. They're not safe to do.
Yes, they've had a lot of, by the time the Hindenburg comes along, they've had a lot of time to figure this out.
I've seen this story before.
Let's see. So, yeah, but again, it's the first voyage of the first ship of the
nobody died.
It's not that big a deal. It's really not that big of a deal. It's a yellow flag.
Exactly. Yep. It's a warning.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, there are more warnings to follow. So in September that same year, 1911, the Olympic then collided with a British warship, the HMS Hawke.
Mm.
And in this collision, the Hawke lost its entire prow.
Mm-hmm.
And the Olympic was also damaged. 2 of its compartments filled with water. So you haven't seen Titanic, so I don't know if you know this, but these ships have like these different separated compartments in the bottom in the hull. So they're designed so if it starts flooding,
right, it doesn't.
There's
The whole
walls,
thing
so they
doesn't
don't.
flood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
So I don't know how many compartments it had, but 2 of them filled with water, which is not ideal.
Yeah, I mean they're there for a reason, but you don't really want to test it.
Yeah,
Obviously.
exactly. And then one of the propeller shafts twisted up, which is also pretty bad.
Yeah.
So again, not life threatening, but not what you want. And Smith had been captaining the Olympic during the accident. And they studied kind of what happened, and they found that the massive size of the Olympic had generated a suction that pulled the Hawke into its side.
Pretty convenient if you think of it, but that's fine. Yeah. What we're going to tell the NTSB is that our boat actually pulled their boat, and it was all a big accident.
So the Hawke incident was financially not good for White Star.
Right.
Obviously, the repairs are expensive, and also the Olympic had to take time out of service, which cost them a lot of money. They had a lot of refunds for trips that were coming up and stuff. So they're frantic to get the Olympic back in the water. So to do that, they were building the second ship in the class, which was the Titanic. And to get the Olympic back up, they actually took some parts out of the Titanic and put them on the Olympic, which is interesting. One, because that means, so the Titanic falls behind schedule. The maiden voyage of the Titanic was supposed to be March 20th of 1912. This pushed it back to April 10th of 1912.
Not that bad. You know,
it's not that bad.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, what is that iceberg doing 3 weeks earlier? You know, I mean, if you go 3 weeks early, do you hit an iceberg? I don't know. You know, who knows? It's interesting though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, all right, fuck off. So Captain Smith, he's pretty rattled by the Olympic incidents. I mean, he had a stellar career. I mean, spotless fucking career.
He hasn't hit anything, and now he's hit 2 boats.
Yeah,
and he's pretty unhappy about that.
Yeah. He's also getting pretty old. He's getting close to retirement age at this point. And now he's had 2 incidents with hitting 2 boats with his big new boat.
Yeah.
People are starting to like whisper, like, has he lost it? Is he too old for this?
Should we take away his keys? Basically.
Exactly. It's that conversation.
And instead they give him the biggest Crown Victoria they possibly could.
Yep.
To crawl along.
The uncrashable car is what they call the Crown Victoria. So of course they give him command of Titanic, as we all know, for its maiden voyage. There are a lot of sources that say Smith had decided that he would retire after that first trip, because he was kind of feeling the wear of it, I think. Some people say it's not true, but there are also a lot of people say it is true.
I mean, who knows, technically he did. So
well, my next note here is, and in a way he was right.
I'm sorry.
At least we're terrible together. And I like that about us. Oh boy. So on April 10th, 1912, Edward Smith wakes up, I assume, in his bed. He says goodbye to his wife, Sarah Eleanor Smith, and he leaves their house in Southampton for what will end up being the last time. He heads out to the dock. He climbs aboard the Titanic, and we all know how that went.
Yep.
So that happened. So the ship goes out, obviously famously hits an iceberg, sinks. It's a horrible tragedy. Not as horrible a tragedy in terms of passenger deaths as the SS Eastland in Chicago in the fucking river, which is so weird, but obviously very terrible tragedy. It's worth noting that we're not actually quite sure how Smith died. Well, he drowned. How he died.
Okay. Yeah.
But there are a lot of stories about like how it went down. So as the Titanic's going under, we know that Captain Smith went around the boat helping passengers get into lifeboats and saving as many as he could, and he also went around and just manually relieved his crew members of their duties, because these are people who are not going to leave, and they're it's the whole thing, you're going to go down with the boat, but he would go around and say no, please leave.
Yeah.
So he saved a lot of lives that would have otherwise not been saved. So he's a hero. He's really amazing. But he goes around and he does a round of that. And at one point he gets off everyone off the boat that he thinks he can, turns around and he walks back to the bridge alone.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last time that multiple people can confirm seeing him. Now a few minutes later, a man named Samuel Hemming, who was a trimmer.
Is that a boat term or is that a?
I assume he's on the crew. I don't know. I have here trimmer, and then in parentheses I have question marks. So your guess is as good as mine. He said he ran up the bridge because the rest of the boat was sinking, and apparently he found it empty. Now he ended up surviving and told that story, but he doesn't. So he doesn't know what happened to the captain. The wheelhouse on the bridge did catch fire. Some people suggest that Smith probably went to the wheelhouse and died in the fire. The most popular version of what happened to him, though, I mean, obviously, is that he went down with the ship, just standing on the bridge as it went under. And
saluting the...
Exactly.
Yeah. And then,
and there are people who say, there's survivors who say, one in particular said he watched from the water as Smith went down with the boat, standing on the bridge, saluting, doing all the things. And that's the one that they show in the movies. There have been many movies, obviously, about this, and that's always the way that it goes down. It's very cinematic. Some other survivors said that he swam to their lifeboat after the ship had gone down and asked to be let on. And but they were like, no, one more person will sink this boat.
Right.
And he said, quote, "All right, boys, good luck and God bless you."
On to the next boat.
Another person on that same lifeboat said he did swim up, but he didn't ask to be let on. Instead, he just swam up and said, quote, "Good boys, good lads," and then swam away. So he may have been like checking around to make sure people are like, not fucking around and actually getting out.
Yeah. Does anybody need anything?
I don't have any tea, but can I do something to make you more comfortable?
I have a tin of SeaTac if you would like it still. Let me swim down and grab it real quick.
A few people claim they saw him jumping from the bridge into the water.
That sounds fun.
Whee! And that would certainly jive with the trimmer's version of the story when he found the bridge empty. So there's just a bunch of kind of different people who were like, "Oh, I saw him do this. I saw," it doesn't really matter. Obviously, in the end, he drowned. So he did obviously die there. His last words are also up for debate. So most people will tell you that his last words were, quote, "Be British, boys, be British." Which is so stupid.
Yeah. The throes of hypothermia at this point, obviously.
Referring to like the stiff upper lip of, yes, we're all dying, but be British. It's fine. And it's actually engraved. He has a big memorial statue, unsurprisingly, in the UK, and that's engraved on his memorial as his final words. But historians all agree that that's not true. The last words anyone actually report hearing him say are, quote, "Well, boys, do your best for the women and children and look out for yourselves," which is way better than "be British."
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so he dies. Now, I already told you his ghost was sighted in 1977 on the Winter Haven, but it's definitely not the first time his ghost has been seen.
Okay.
Just after the Titanic sank, like within hours, before the news has even gotten to land, Edward's wife, Sarah, was sitting in her drawing room at their house in Southampton when suddenly the door to the room opened and Edward walked in. He crossed the room and walked toward her window. Obviously, he's not there. He's on Titanic.
Yeah.
So she thinks.
And she's like, do I have my schedule mixed up?
Yes. And it was weird because A, he was there, and B, he didn't look at her or speak to her. He walked to the window, and when he got to the window, he disappeared.
That's very suspicious.
Yes.
He never does this.
This is the first. I'm so embarrassed. So this happens, and so Sarah, like, her heart totally sinks because she knows that he is lost. And again, this is This is before news reaches land that she sees him. So that was the first sighting of his ghost. He's also been seen in his childhood home in Staffordshire.
Okay.
There've been a few owners. Yeah. A few owners and residents of the place that have seen the ghost of Captain Smith drifting across the bedroom. In the late 90s, the owners had it was a rental space. And the people renting there went downstairs one morning to find the kitchen completely flooded.
All I know is water. All I know is water.
So they call plumbers to fix it. And the plumbers are like, nothing's wrong. We can't find a single thing wrong.
Also, this is seawater. Do you know?
Also, I don't know. I was so thirsty. Have you not tried this? It's salty as shit. And they can't pinpoint a source, but they all agreed, both the renters and the plumber, that there was a very icy chill in the dining room. The dining room felt as cold as a glacier. He's also been seen at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool. Now, apparently this hotel actually has quite a few paranormal events and is one of the most haunted hotels in the UK. So I'm sure we'll come back to it eventually. But there is one room called the Sefton Suite, which is supposedly an exact replica of the Titanic's first class smoking room.
Ew. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like that's just begging for trouble.
Of all the rooms you can. Okay, that's fine.
There are so many ways to style a room.
Your bedroom is patterned after the Titanic's main lavatory. I hope you do enjoy it.
Urinate wherever you'd like. It's plumbed for that. A few guests have witnessed in that room 3 men dressed as naval officers standing at the far end of the room looking at them, which is the weirdest thing. And according to these people, when they see a picture, one of them is Captain Smith, tall, elderly gentleman with a stunning white beard. He may also be haunting a pub in Belfast. I have a picture to share with you. You tell me what you think. So there's a pub in Northern Ireland called Robinson's that they're kind of famous for having a whole bunch of genuine Titanic memorabilia.
Okay.
Which again, like that doesn't feel like a good idea. Like, I don't know why you're inviting all this shit into your life.
Collect cursed idols. It's good ambiance.
And one day, a couple named Cheryl and Luke Arkless were on a trip to Belfast, and they stopped in at the pub. So you heard about it. It's a cool place to hang. Luke's mom was with them, and she took some photos of them together at the bar. And when they developed the photos, they saw a figure standing behind them. And when they saw this figure, they said, "Holy shit, that's Captain Smith." They said, "This is the dead-ass likeness of Captain Edward Smith."
And I will see how accurate this dead-ass likeness is.
I will show you
Very
now.
Interested.
This likeness. So this is
it's a fucking thumbprint. Okay, yeah. That is the dead ass likeness.
We'll link to this photo in the show notes. It's beyond description.
Oh.
Now,
it looks like someone is vaping behind them. That's what it looks like.
It is there. It's a weird thing happening. I don't know what I can't explain what it is, because there is like some weird form of something. But they're like, this, it's Captain Smith.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. If you read any of the articles where they interview these people, like we showed our friends and they said, "Oh my God, is that the captain of the Titanic?" It's like, as if everyone who looks at this would be like, "Holy shit, that's Edward." How you even get a human out of this?
It's a smudge. It's a big smudge.
It's a big smudge. It's a very big smudge.
I'm not sure what's going on with that pharmaceutical saleswoman standing there right next to it.
It's like leering at them.
Yeah. Did she also see the ghost?
God, it's so funny. I'm more willing to say an orb photo is a ghost than I am to say that this one is a ghost. And what is this like? It's a very solid demarcation. Like, what
Yeah. Again,
Is he a
it's
nun? Is he wearing a habit? Like what?
is he some sort of Minecraft character? I don't really know what's going on here.
So that one, I wouldn't say I'm sold on that one.
Okay, yeah. Not gonna bet the farm on that one.
No,
That's fair.
but my favorite haunting by Captain Smith is, God, I think I should just read you this headline from from November 2018. Here's a headline from an internet site. Ready? After the Titanic went down, haunted mirror possessed by the ghost of the Titanic captain up for auction.
Hmm.
And here's a quote.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm interested in cost, obviously, because it's I'm in the market for a deal, but I don't.
Well, let me give you some details. This is from the article. Quote, the 110-year-old mirror is believed to be possessed once a year by Edward John Smith, who left it on the dressing table of his home in Stoke-on-Trent before he set sail on the ill-fated ship's infamous maiden voyage. So the story is, after the Titanic went down, they were obviously his wife and company, they were dealing with his effects, and they were very well off. He was
sure, yeah, of course,
yeah. So they had servants in the house, and one of the servants, her name was Ethelwyn, or Ethelwine.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter. She's not been around for a while. She was told that she could take one item from the house as a keepsake, quote, in lieu of wages.
Oh, that's a shame.
Which sucks additionally because it's wild, because Sarah actually, his widow, actually got quite a lot of money from White Star.
I believe,
after he died.
Yeah, the settlement must have been crazy.
I think the initial payout was equal to 1 year of his salary. There was an amount, but didn't mean it. But it's very substantial. Like, well, instead of paying some of your wages, you want to take a mirror. So she took the mirror, but the following year, 1913, on the anniversary of the Titanic disaster, Ethelwyn looked in the mirror and she saw Edward's face staring back at her.
Ooh, okay.
And she lost her mind, and she told everyone, she's like, holy shit, everyone look at this. And other people have looked at the mirror on that day and they said, oh my God.
Yeah. And she was like, do you want to buy the mirror from me?
No, I don't think so.
I think you really should. Maybe next year it'll happen again. You should probably own it.
And it did, of course. The next year, second anniversary, she saw him again. So every year on April 15th, Captain Smith shows up in this haunted mirror. It was for sale, like I said, in 2018. How much would you pay for? I'll show you them. You want to see the mirror?
I would love to see the actual photo of the haunting of the mirror. I'm feeling that's not going to be that. Why not? I'm going to guess some sort of gilded frame. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was envisioning. Yep.
That's exactly what you would think. How much would you pay for? I mean, this is a legitimately haunted artifact, though.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. From the guy that wrecked the Titanic. I would say it probably goes for $25,000.
Okay. I don't know what it ended up going for because I didn't care.
I don't know the answer to this question.
But I do know that they were predicting it would go for £10,000, which is about $13,000.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you're a big Titanic fight, though.
I would have won. I would have won. Yeah,
for sure. So I don't know how much I went for because I can't go down that rabbit hole. But there's a haunted mirror, and there are so many haunted artifacts. I don't think we've talked about any yet, other than like dolls and stuff. But there's some in the pipeline, and this is, I guess, our first official haunted artifact, which is just great. That's a story cut. But now there's a coda, so I don't know. It's interesting. Smith had one sibling, a half sister, who she died in 1921. And Smith's widow, Sarah, died in 1931. She was hit by a taxi in London.
Ooh.
Yeah, which is not a good way to go. Now, Edward and Sarah had one daughter. It was Helen Melville Smith. She eventually married. She gave birth to twins, Simon and Priscilla. Simon was a pilot for the Royal Air Force. He was killed in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And Priscilla died from polio 3 years later.
Mm.
Neither of them had any children. And then Helen died in 1973, which all means there is no direct bloodline from Captain Edward Smith, which I guess is not uncommon, but I find it interesting.
Yeah.
There are no direct relatives of Captain Smith around. And the fuckers even destroyed his house.
Take to this haunted ass house. I'm sorry.
The most surprising part of this whole story was that you have the captain who went down with the Titanic, and you don't preserve his house. In 1941, it was taken down as part of a quote urban renewal program. So his house is no longer standing. His birth house is obviously because it's for sale right now. You can go have that if you want. But yeah, and that's a story of Edward John Smith, captain of the Titanic, who is still with us in some ways today.
Trapped in a little mirror.
That's the worst place to be. God, what do you do when you're not showing the other 364 days? Where are you?
You play cards, I'd imagine.
With whom?
Just with yourself, or maybe with maybe other famous failed sea captains.
Where do you go though? Do you go to like sea captain
meetups?
Post-death Disney? Yeah.
Like the guy that the guy that killed the boatswain and steered the boat into the into the
sea. He's there for sure.
I bet they are best fucking friends.
And he would fucking kill for a once a year mirror.
I'm here every 50 years. You're complaining about once a year in a mirror? Give me that bowling pin thing.
But he's also probably down at the Titanic. There are supposedly some ghost things happening at the ship, which we might the wreckage.
In fact. Yeah.
Exactly. It's going to cost you $250,000 to find out. But hey, if you like this show, then you should go and rate and review and subscribe. And listen, if you want to do a listening party with your friends, we have some very exclusive ghosties. No one else has heard them. You could be the first. And at this point, I got to say, to be blunt, the only. No one's taking us up on this offer, which is hurtful. But have some friends over. Listen to our podcast. We'll send you an episode you've never heard before that no one else will ever hear.
I don't even remember it.
No, and we might record even new ones, and he won't remember those either. But thank you so much for listening, Patrick. Any thoughts about Titanic? How'd you feel this episode went?
I feel like I'm learning a lot about this Titanic thing. I really do.
Yeah.
At some point, I should probably find a documentary about it so I can learn even more about
Definitely.
it. Like,
or if you want to go, I know a way to get you a firsthand experience with the ship if you're interested in learning more about that opportunity.
I don't know if that is still being offered.
And on that note, we'll see you next week on Is This a Ghost?